Hey, this is Sterling here. Thanks for tuning in. I just had a thought and I wanted to share it and just get it out there. I can't help but think about when Jesus said something like, I've got many more things to tell you, but right now you can't bear them. And to me, that speaks of unlimited possibilities of potential. I've got many more things to tell you, he says. God is like all the information in the world that never ends, and he wants to impart to us, but on a level that we can comprehend. And so God meets us right there where we're at, and he's cool with that. That was his purpose and intention. That's how Jesus moved on the world. He moved in compassion and love, and even if it didn't seem right biblically, he was thinking higher. And so sometimes it clashes with what we think we know. So I think about what love is. Eternity. It's unlimited possibilities. It's unlimited potential. It's all things possible. It's God. Love is God. God is love. As I continue to evolve in my understanding of who I am, the purpose of life, what God is, who God is, and how that directly impacts me as far as who I am, because I'm the image of God, then I can't help but see this theme of love. This is the law and the prophets. Sum it up. I can hear him closing the book as he slams it, and he says, love God with all your heart, love your neighbor as yourself. And this is all the law and the prophets. It boils down to that single factor. And so I may be forced to recognize, relearn, reorganize what I thought love was, is, and does. And my discovery of love, or my discovery of God, is unending, and it suggests a constant evolving and re-examining the limitations of my beliefs that prevent love from expanding and including and evolving, whether it be myself or people around me or ideas. It's always on the move. It's never stagnant. It never stops. It never settles. It's always prevailing. All the characteristics that I would think would be in the quality of a God who is alive. When we say God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, I don't think God can be truncated. I do understand that he's one way all the time, and if there was one way, that it is love. But because eternity is forever and ever, my current understanding is limited. But to grow in love is to grow in God, and that is forever and ever. And that foreverness, if that were a word, always expansive, always growing, finding out new ways to do things better, to love deeper, richer, higher, farther. And as long as I'm in pursuit of this love, I will always be evolving. I'll always be replacing those circuits of unbelief or beliefs that worked yesterday but had their limitations. I'll always be looking to expand those things, like expanding roads into new territories. There's some risk there, but it's worth it because it's what we were created and made for. It's the nature of God in us to not be limited. It's only natural to want that in ourselves. And so we see it in our families. We want our kids to have the best of everything we have, and we want them to have even better, and that they take our life experience, we're hoping that they expand on them and grow on them even higher. And we see it in technology. It's advancing. It doesn't mean it didn't work yesterday, but as we work with what we have, we always find out there's limitations to it, and there's a greater impact that we can make that kind of reaches people more. And so medical technology advances, science advances. It's kind of a fingerprint of the nature of God in us, to not be limited or bound by any means, expanding forever and ever in every direction, because it cannot be put into a box. It challenges me because I like my certainty. I like my perimeters. I like even my borders of fear, because I feel safe in that, in the familiar territory. That's just really a limiter, an idea of God that we can sort of grasp, and basically what we're doing is putting him in a box that makes us feel comfortable. That really only blocks us of experiencing the fullness of love, the fullness of God. Paul said, I pray that you grow in the depth, the width, the height, and to know the love of God that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. And that surpasses knowledge means that I'm going to be challenged in my previous understanding and experiences, but because love is what I'm erring on, then I'm willing to go that route and be wrong for the sake of love. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Sorry about that. It challenges my apologetics, and I'm trained to win the argument, feel confident in my argument. That's totally different from just living in love, because love allows me to move in compassion. It puts myself in somebody else's shoes with their understanding, thinking, well, if I had those circumstances and I only had their mind, would I do the same thing that they're doing? Or, I wouldn't have any other resources to pull to think another way. And so love allows us to move in compassion, to really remove those things that cause us to box people in or make one size fit all, or like we do in the hospital, give a broad band antibiotic, just kill everything off, kind of wipe out the ecosystem, rather than moving in love, which means, who are you? Hey, that you're a miracle in of yourself, and I see God in you, and I value the richness of you. And when we move like that, we remove the blinders and the prejudgments and the stereotypes that we often don't even realize we're walking in. So in conclusion, for me, I have decided that my walk in my faith It's one that says, hey, what does love say? What would love do? Traditionally, I've come from the perspective, what does the Bible say? But that's coming from a perspective of just trying to be right. What's more right? And I think the answer is, what would love do? When I move in that direction with that kind of compassion, I'll have empathy. I won't cut off the ear and inflict wounds, but I'll meet the person right where they're at. I can't help but think about the woman, the line in the sand. You say, you without sin cast the first stone. He seemed to just crush all their perspectives about God, about biblical truth and being right, for love, for compassion, for greater understanding. And I think that's what love does. It smashes the lines. It confounds the wise. It doesn't make sense. As long as you're holding to a letter of the law or a rule book, you cannot move in compassion. And if we're using the Bible the same way that the Pharisees did in that day and saying, oh, you don't fit in the lines, the Bible says it's the following authority. We've done nothing different than they have. And if we kind of understood that and operated in that, we wouldn't treat people different just because of their beliefs, orientation, or race, color, creed, but we would operate from a universal truth that love is the truth that everybody wants and everybody needs and everybody wants to give and everybody wants to feel. It's the feeling of God. From this higher perspective, as I call it, you're going to confound the wise of your circle. You're going to seem at first to break the rules and what is called biblical truth. And that's exactly what happened to Jesus. In the end, love is the way, the truth, and the life. It erases all the lines, and love cannot fail. For me, I've decided that being biblically correct is not the answer. Love is the answer.